Sally that girl in the kitchen. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sally that girl in the kitchen. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to make a classic dessert that everyone loves. What am I talking about? I'm going to teach you how to make an Oreo cheesecake, but not just any Oreo cheesecake. This is an Oreo cheesecake topped with a semi-sweet chocolate ganache. Yes, it's going to have an extra layer of flavor, and the combination of flavors and textures is perfect. We are going to start with an Oreo cookie crust. We're going to fill it with a New York style cheesecake that has Oreo pieces running throughout, and then we're going to create a velvety smooth semi-sweet chocolate ganache that we're going to add on top of the cheesecake to finish it off. And the combination of flavors and textures is perfect. It looks beautiful, it tastes remarkable, and you are going to love it. I cannot wait to teach you how to make it. So let's not wait another second and let's get started. For the Oreo crust, you will need some non-stick cooking spray, 22 whole Oreo cookies with the cream removed, broken into small pieces, and 6 tablespoons of salted butter, which you have melted. For the cheesecake, you will need 4 8-ounce bars of cream cheese, which you have softened, a 1/4 cup of sour cream, 4 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract, a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 2 cups of sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, the juice and the zest of 1 large lemon, 6 large room temperature eggs, and 10 whole Oreo cookies with their cream broken into large pieces. And for the semi-sweet chocolate ganache topping, you will need 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips and 1 really hot cup of heavy whipping cream. You will also need a sharp knife and a blunt knife, some measuring spoons, some dry measuring cups, a liquid measuring cup and a whisk, a large bowl and a gallon-sized Ziploc bag, a lemon zester, a bowl to melt your butter in, a large bowl for your batter, a smaller bowl for your chocolate chips, and another bowl to soften your cream cheese in. And you will also need some oven mitts and a handheld mixer. Additionally, you will need either a large tea kettle or a nice sized pot with a pouring spout. You will also need a springform pan that is 9.5 inches in diameter, and either another slightly larger pan so that you can line it with to make it watertight, or of course you can double wrap your springform pan with heavy duty aluminum foil and make sure that it is really watertight. And finally, you need a larger pan that you're going to be using as a bain-marie, as your water bath. So you want to make sure that your springform pan fits comfortably in the larger pan. And then you will need a large spoon, such as a serving spoon, and a silicone spatula. So now that we have all of our ingredients and tools together, let's get started. The first thing I like to do is open up my gallon-sized Ziploc bag, and I place it in a bowl for stability, and I just fold over the top of the bag to make it easy to add my Oreo cookies into it. And then I make sure to have a small mug or a bowl and a blunt knife, because I want a place to be able to add my delicious Oreo cream, because that stuff is absolutely delicious, and I'm going to store that, and I'm going to make sure that I use it in some other recipe or as some topping for some ice cream, or believe me, my sons will find something to do with this delicious Oreo cream. So I'm not going to waste that. So what I do is I use my blunt knife and I just scrape the cream out of my Oreo cookies, because for the cookie crust, I want to use the cookies themselves without the cream. So just repeat this process until you have removed the cream from 22 Oreo cookies. I have calculated for the size of my springform pan, 22 Oreo cookies are exactly what I need to line the bottom of my pan perfectly. So now, grab that Ziploc bag and close it, because what you want to do is break down these Oreo cookies, and closing that bag helps you not make a complete mess while you are breaking down these cookies. Now, you can break them using your hands, or you can grab anything you find around your kitchen to help you break them down. I don't break them down into really small crumbs. I actually like some texture, so I do break them into small pieces, but I don't completely mash them down. So I like to start by just using my hands and breaking them a bit, and then I switch to either my fist, or I find something to use in my kitchen to help me break them down. A rolling pin works very well. If you just gently hit them, then it breaks the cookies up into pieces. And like I said, you don't want to pulverize them. You just want to break them down into small pieces. So once your Oreo cookies are broken up and ready, just add them to a large bowl. Now I'll show you what the pieces should look like. You see, there's still some texture to them. They're not completely pulverized, but they're definitely small pieces. And then what you want to do is grab 6 tablespoons of butter and just add them to a bowl. And then what I do is I just warm up that butter ever so slightly in the microwave just until it melts. Just do it a few seconds at a time, and you can cover your bowl with a paper towel to avoid any mess. So grab your dry measuring cup and a serving spoon. And what you want to do is add this melted butter right into those broken up Oreo cookies. And then just grab that serving spoon, and you're going to combine the cookies with that delicious butter that we just melted and added to them. It's really going to help get these cookies nice and moist, and it's going to make them the perfect texture to create that delicious crust for our Oreo cheesecake. So now, set this mixture aside for just a moment and bring over your springform pan and your non-stick cooking spray. And you just want to give your springform pan a nice coating of this non-stick cooking spray, because that way when you're ready to cut your cheesecake and serve it, it will not stick to your springform pan. Now, once you've given it a nice coating, then of course what you want to do is add this yummy mixture of butter and Oreo cookies right into your pan. And then what we're going to do is create a delicious buttery chocolatey Oreo layer for the bottom of our delicious Oreo cheesecake topped with semi-sweet chocolate ganache. And in order to do so, what we do is we use our spoon to help spread this mixture all along the bottom of the pan. And then we're going to use the back of our dry measuring cup just to help us press this mixture down ever so slightly. This process just helps us make sure that the entire pan gets covered in this delicious Oreo cookie and butter combination, and so that we don't miss any spots. And then once that's ready, you just put this into your refrigerator until we are ready to fill it. And so at this point would be a good time to preheat your oven to 325 degrees and make sure there's a rack placed in the center of the oven. And I also like to turn on my tea kettle or my pot with a spout at this point. And even though I set it pretty strong, I'm setting it to about medium or even high, I just want my water to boil. Then I could always turn it off, but it's still real hot, and that way it'll reach boiling point again real quickly when I am ready to use it. So now grab a microwave safe bowl and add your 4 bars of cream cheese to it. I left my cream cheese on my counter for a few hours to bring it to room temperature. But even if your cream cheese is cold, that's fine, because what you want to do is put it in the microwave for 1 to 2 minutes, depending on the strength of your microwave, just to soften up that cream cheese. And that way it is nice and smooth and soft, and it's going to combine really well and really easily with the rest of our ingredients. Now, grab a large bowl and add that delicious softened cream cheese right into the large bowl. And then right on top of that, we are going to add our sour cream and also our pure vanilla extract. Now, once these ingredients are in, grab your handheld mixer, and all you want to do is use speed number 1. As we mix in all of our ingredients for our cheesecake, we are going to leave our mixer on speed number 1. We're just going to gently turn the bowl and incorporate the ingredients, because we don't want to add too much air to our cheesecake. So by keeping our speed nice and low, we don't add too much air into our mixture. So now turn off your handheld mixer for just a moment, and you're going to add your flour, your salt, and your sugar. And once all of these are in, then once again, very gently and very carefully, you're going to start mixing again. What I do is, before I turn my mixer on to speed number 1, I use it turned off, and I just kind of incorporate that sugar a little bit so it's not right on top and it doesn't start to fly off when I turn on my handheld mixer. And then of course, I turn my speed on again to 1 and just gently turn my bowl as I mix and just incorporate these ingredients into this delicious cheesecake batter that we are forming. Now, once again, turn your mixer off. And then what you want to add now is that delicious lemon juice that you have squeezed out of a beautiful fresh lemon. And you also want to add that incredible zest that you have zested off of that same lemon. I add the entire zest from the whole lemon and the juice from the whole lemon, because I really like what that touch of acidity and just that incredible fragrant lemon zest do to balance the cream cheese in this cheesecake. It just gives it that perfect balance of flavors, and it's just incredibly aromatic, and it's perfect. So then once again, with your handheld mixer set to speed number 1, incorporate this delicious lemon juice and lemon zest into the mixture. Now crack your 6 eggs into a bowl, because you're going to use that bowl to help you add the eggs into this mixture, so that with one hand you can have your handheld mixer set to number 1, and with your other hand you can just pour in a couple of eggs at a time. So what we want to do is just pour in a couple of eggs, then just gently incorporate them into the mixture, and then you are just going to continue to add your eggs and incorporate them 2 by 2. Now, once your eggs have been well incorporated, it's time to add pieces of Oreo cookie. Of course, this is an Oreo cheesecake topped with semi-sweet chocolate ganache. So we need Oreo cookie everywhere. So what I like to do is I separate 10 Oreo cookies, and then right on top of this yummy cheesecake batter, I grab my Oreo cookies and I just break them into large pieces right on top of this mixture. This way, as I break them, the crumbs fall in, the cream falls in. I can just kind of separate the top cookie from the bottom one and just throw those pieces in absolutely everywhere, because for this part, I want the cream, I want the cookie, I want all of it because I really want to get that delicious Oreo flavor running throughout this incredible cheesecake. Now, once you've added all 10 Oreo cookies, then just grab your silicone spatula and use it to just gently fold them into this delicious batter. I love using a silicone spatula for this because this way I can just scrape down the sides of my bowl as I gently mix these Oreo cookies into this incredible cheesecake mixture that is already smelling divine. Now, it's time to pull out our springform pan from the refrigerator, and I'm going to just place it in that other pan. Now remember, if you're not using a second pan, then it's really important that you double wrap your springform pan with 2 layers of heavy-duty aluminum foil to make sure that it is watertight. Now turn your tea kettle or your pan with a spout on to high and make sure it whistles or it is boiling. You want your water to be really hot. Now bring over the bowl with that delicious cheesecake batter and you're going to pour it right on top of that buttery Oreo cookie crust and use your silicone spatula to scrape down the bowl real well and make sure you get all of that yummy cheesecake batter into your springform pan. Now, once you've gotten all of that yummy batter in, then use your silicone spatula to just help you distribute the filling because sometimes your Oreo cookies may fall a little more to one side or to the other, so you can just help it along and spread them out. Now, what I find easiest and safest at this point is to, using an oven mitt, pull out a rack from my oven and make sure it's steady, and then I place my pans on that center rack of the oven, and then I bring over my tea kettle or my pan with a spout, and I'm going to very carefully pour my boiling water on the outer part of the pan, making sure not to get any water in that pan that is protecting my springform pan, or of course in the aluminum foil if you're using aluminum foil to protect your springform. You want the water on the outer area because that is going to help our cheesecake gently cook. And so I filled it all the way up as high as I could without it getting into that other pan that is protecting my springform or into the aluminum foil. So then I just closed my oven and I set a 1 hour and 45-minute timer to allow my cheesecake to gently bake. After the hour and 45 minutes have passed, I very carefully pull out my cheesecake and I place it on my stove and I let it sit there to cool. And I set a 2-hour timer because I want my cheesecake to cool right there sitting in the bain-marie for a full 2 hours. It is already looking and smelling incredible. So about 5 minutes before those 2 hours have passed is a good time to make our semi-sweet chocolate ganache. What we want to do is add our chocolate chips to a dry measuring cup, and then we're going to add those chips to a microwave safe bowl because what I want to do is I'm going to warm up those chips just for about 30 seconds or so in the microwave just to slightly get them a touch warm. Now, once you've warmed the chips up, then what you want to do is you're going to use your heavy whipping cream and you're going to pour it right into that same dry measuring cup because we want the same proportions. We want 1 cup of the chips and 1 cup of the heavy whipping cream. And then what I do is I add that into either a microwave safe bowl or preferably a microwave safe wet measuring cup such as this Pyrex measuring cup, and then I put that in the microwave, and that I want to heat up really well. I'm going to heat that up for about 2 minutes because I really want my heavy cream really hot. And then I just grab those chips that are just ever so slightly warm, and I'm going to add them in to that really hot heavy whipping cream. And then all I need to do is grab a whisk and start whisking to combine these 2 ingredients. That really hot heavy whipping cream is going to just finish melting those semi-sweet chocolate chips and is going to create the smoothest and richest chocolate ganache. It is going to be divine. It really is just an incredible smooth texture and the flavor is fantastic. And I like to use semi-sweet chocolate on my Oreo cheesecake because I feel that it's the perfect complement to that delicious Oreo flavor. But of course, if you're a fan of white chocolate ganache, then you can do that too. Just check out my video of New York style cheesecake topped with white chocolate ganache to learn how to make a white chocolate ganache instead. And you can always use that one. Just don't substitute a different type of chocolate without first looking at the proper proportions, because depending on the type of chocolate you use, the amount of heavy whipping cream will change. So they are not perfectly interchangeable. So don't make the mistake of trying to use white chocolate or milk chocolate when using this much heavy whipping cream, or your ganache will not set. So that's why if you want to go for white, definitely check out my New York style cheesecake topped with white chocolate ganache for the right proportions. So now my ganache is perfect. It's smooth. There's no lumps of chocolate in it. It is absolutely perfect, and it is the perfect texture for it to make an incredible layer on top of my Oreo cheesecake and set beautifully. So what I do now is I actually have a bowl that fits perfectly over my springform pan, and I like to use this to be able to then cover my cheesecake and put it in the refrigerator. But if you don't have something like this, then you can use plastic wrap. That is perfectly fine. So what I do is I bring over my cheesecake that has now cooled and is room temperature, and then I grab this delicious ganache, and that's why I like to use this type of a measuring cup, because it has a spout and it's going to help me pour this yummy ganache right on top of this delicious Oreo cheesecake. And then, yes, you guessed it, we just grab our delicious ganache and we pour it all over this yummy, yummy Oreo cheesecake. And we're going to create an incredible layer of chocolate on top. So this cheesecake will have that incredible Oreo crumb underneath, that crust that is buttery and delicious. Then it's going to have that cheesecake filled with pieces of Oreo cookie, and then on top, this incredible ganache. I mean, talk about rich and indulgent. This is an incredibly delicious cheesecake. So now grab a sharp knife, because what you want to do is use the tip to just pop any little air bubbles that may rise to the top once you've poured all your ganache on. And that way you'll just have a nice smooth finish and a glossy texture to this beautiful ganache once it sets. So just use the knife and ever so gently go around and pop any little bubbles that may rise. So now in my case, I'm just going to be using my bowl as my lid to be able to cover my cheesecake and put it into the refrigerator till tomorrow, or for at least 6 hours. It needs to set for another full 6 hours at minimum. So either cover it with a bowl as I've done, or cover it with some plastic wrap, and then you're going to put it in your refrigerator, and you are not going to touch it, as tempted as you may be, for at least 6 hours for it to properly set and be ready to enjoy. So now I was very patient, and I actually let my cheesecake set overnight. So it's now the next day, and I can uncover my cheesecake, and it is looking so delicious. It has that beautiful texture, that lovely glossy ganache on top. So what I want to do is I want to take that same sharp knife that I used yesterday, and I'm going to go around the very edge of that ganache, because it is going to help release my cheesecake from my springform pan. If I take a knife and very gently, you don't have to go in deep at all, just very gently run it all around that ganache so that it releases from the springform pan, and that way it is going to be much easier for me to remove my springform from my cheesecake. So now just unlock your springform pan, and then you're going to give it a gentle little wiggle and remove it. And there you have it. A beautiful Oreo cheesecake topped with a semi-sweet chocolate ganache. Look at how delicious that cheesecake layer looks with those pieces of Oreo cookie running throughout, and that smooth, delicious ganache on top is just literally the icing on the cake. It is delicious and it is so indulgent and it looks so beautiful. Look at how lovely that looks once I've plated it. That ganache is just perfect. Those pieces of Oreo running throughout. That delicious New York style cheesecake is just perfect. It has the right texture. It's just dense enough without being too dense. It's just really the perfect combination of flavors and of textures, and it just looks absolutely beautiful when you serve it. And of course, it's going to be divine when you bite into it. I cannot wait to try it. I really love having some extra fun with my plating. So especially if you're going to serve this for a special occasion, how beautiful would that be if someone put that plate in front of you for dessert? I mean, you can't beat it. It just looks adorable. And of course, it looks so tempting and delicious. So definitely keep in mind that plating is always a plus. So as I often like to say, enough with the admiring. It's now time to taste this. Look at how creamy this looks. It's just so perfect. It's got that buttery Oreo cookie crust and that delicious cheesecake filling with pieces of Oreo, and of course that ganache on top. Oh, wow. This is so incredibly delicious. It's perfect. It's got that perfect balance of flavors, and that lemon that we added to the cheesecake just balances it perfectly. It doesn't feel overly sweet. It just feels perfect. And of course, that texture and that beautiful crust and that incredible thick filling and that ganache. Oh, wow. I'm going to have to take another bite. Look at how beautiful that looks. Those 3 layers, amazing. So good. There are not enough words to describe just how incredible this cheesecake is. This is so yummy. You are going to love it. And if you're a cheesecake fan, believe me, this is going to be top on your list. It's impressive, it's delicious, it's indulgent. Can you tell? I just can't get enough. It's so yummy, and look how beautiful it is with those pieces of Oreo cookie inside. Really, this is a very delicious special dessert. So how incredibly tasty does this look? Tell me this video doesn't make you feel like making this right now. This is such an incredible dessert, and it's great for any time, for a holiday or any time of the year, just when you feel like making something special and a really great treat that everyone is going to love. It is creamy and it is thick, and it's got that perfect density, and that creamy ganache on top really makes it extra special and extra creamy and extra indulgent. It is absolutely delicious, and you are going to love it. Trust me. No, better yet, don't trust me. You're going to have to try to make this recipe yourself. And of course, if you've enjoyed today's recipe, don't forget to like, comment, and share. And remember, if you haven't already done so, remember to subscribe to my channel and to touch that little notification bell so that you don't miss out on any amazing recipes that I have planned for you. And if you're not already following Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on social media, remember to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, and as Sally That Girl FL on Twitter, Snapchat, and TikTok. See you next time. Sally That Girl in the Kitchen.